This was the Zamość Rotunda, which was originally built as part of the fortress defence system, but in the Nazi occupation it became used as an execution site, a holding place before prisoners were sent to concentration camps, and also a site of mass graves. Apparently there were over 450 mass graves in this place, and it's not a huge site at all. It's estimated that approximately 8,000 people were killed here. This would be the Soviet burial grounds, and on this side we've got the Jewish burial grounds. We are in eastern Poland now. The kind of camps that you visit in this area, or places like this, are going to have a lot more Soviet victims than perhaps the ones towards the west. This is the Polish section. It's not just people that died here that have memorials. It's also people who were found in mass graves in nearby sites, and one section is to people who they found in a mass grave and they have absolutely no idea who they were or where they were from. The stones on the outside are for people that I'm presuming were from Zamość, but who died in camps such as, we've got Buchenwald, Ravensbrück, Auschwitz. It's incredible to look at how quickly the Germans occupied the whole of Poland, beginning with the invasion of Gdansk, or Danzig as it was then known, on the 1st of September, and then just over 2 weeks later the invasion from the Russians from the east. By October the 6th, Poland no longer existed. It had been partitioned. And whenever you're in a city or town in Poland and you learn about the history and when that place was invaded by the Nazis, it's usually early September. Polish put up one hell of a fight, but realistically they were no match. So here we got the names and ages of the victims from different parts of what is now Ukraine, but I think could possibly have been part of Poland at the outbreak of World War II. Carolina, Kulina. This looks like it's the entire family. 45, 13, 8, 24. The Krutina family. 28, 8, 6 and 3. Stanisław Krutina, 3 years old. Another one here, 3 years old, 2 years old, 4 months. 4 months old, murdered by the Nazis. So Majdanek is the camp just on the outskirts of Lublin, which I did visit and made a video about. So the Nazis entered Zamość on the night of September 13th. On the 19th and 20th, the Polish army began battles. They tried to recapture the city of Zamość. The Soviet army from the east arrived and the Germans departed, leaving Zamość under Soviet control. However, the Soviets retreated on the 6th of October, meaning that Zamość was temporarily under neither Soviet nor German control. This was not to last, and October the 26th, the Germans re-entered Zamość and took over the city, decorating the streets with swastikas, renaming the streets. It's estimated that approximately 50,000 people passed through the Zamość Rotunda. In the graves around the rotunda, there's estimated to be the ashes of 45,000 people. And this is where the executions took place. No one was held to account for any of the murders that took place here. These are actually the original gates to the rotunda. "20 years old, 20, 26, 25, 23, 23, 22. Now today, I'm getting a bus to an even smaller town. A town with a tragic history. Now to get there, I need to get 2 buses. The first one to a place called Tomasz something or other. And then from there, I'm going to get a second bus which is going to take me to a place called Bełżec. Now, this is the bus station in Zamość. And that apparently is my bus, but I found out that this guy is also going to the same place and he's leaving in about 5 minutes. Well, I've made it to Bełżec, which I think is the correct pronunciation. And this is the site, as it explains, the site of the murder of about 500,000 victims of the Bełżec death camp, established for the purpose of killing the Jews of Europe whose lives were brutally taken between February and December 1942 by Nazi Germany. Earth, do not cover my blood, let there be no resting place for my outcry. So between February and December in 1942, 500,000 Jews were murdered on this site. So here we have the information on Bełżec and Sobibor and Treblinka, which were the 3 main extermination camps before the construction of the 3 main extermination camps. In 1942, approximately 80% of all the Jews that died in the Holocaust were still alive, and just 11 months later the numbers were reversed. 80% of all the Jews that died in the Holocaust had been killed just in less than 1 year. Reports of the mass killings made their way to the Polish government in exile in London, who then informed the Allies of what was going on in places like Bełżec and Treblinka and Sobibor. But the Allies didn't respond. They didn't respond to any information about extermination camps. In January 1943, it was reported that approximately 500,000 people had been murdered at Bełżec. It's thought that only 2 people survived.
Only when I heard a child calling, "Mommy, haven't I been good? It's dark," my heart would break. Later we stopped having feelings.
A work detachment of forced Jewish labourers had remained at the camp to excavate and burn all the bodies from the mass graves. The bones had to be crushed and powdered and scattered. Once this work was complete, all the workers were then killed. So the Bełżec extermination camp was only actually in existence for around 2 years, just under 2 years, and only really served its purpose as an extermination camp for about 11 months. It started its life as a labour camp where Jews were forced to make anti-tank ditches on the German and Russian border. These ditches would later be used as mass graves. Along with Treblinka and Sobibor, these camps were established to deal with the final solution of the Jewish problem. And at the WWII conference in 1942, it was decided that all of Europeans' Jews would be killed in mass extermination sites, such as this one. There was no selection that took place at Bełżec. Basically everyone that came here was sent here to be murdered, and they would be murdered within an hour or so of arrival. The only people that were pulled out were people who were given the job of pulling the bodies out of the gas chambers and placing them in mass graves, and they themselves would be replaced by people on a new transport. The Germans figured that that way there would be no chance of uprising, so they just kept on replacing the workers. By 1943, the extermination site had served its purpose, but approximately 80 to 85% of all Jews in Poland had already been murdered. So a few remaining Jews were given the task of dismantling the gas chambers and exhuming all the bodies from the mass graves, burning all the bodies, grinding all the bones to powder, and then the Germans ploughed the fields and planted trees to try and cover up what had gone on here. And despite the fact that 500,000 people were murdered on this site, there's little known about it. Not many people know about this site compared to, for example, Auschwitz. But the reason for that is no one survived. There were 2 people that survived, and one of them was killed directly after the war for speaking about what had gone on here, leaving just one sole survivor. So around the perimeter of the site, you can see all the names of the places where people were sent from to Bełżec,